Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live today. I'm so glad to be here and to see all of our viewers. We have some returning viewers who have joined us for a bunch of our Facebook Lives and a lot of new people in the audience. So welcome. We're so glad to see you. We have a great program lined up for you today. And before we get to that, I just want to let you know about a few announcements we have going on here at MyHeritage. It's never a dull day, but there's always things going on at MyHeritage. So the first thing is we just announced today that we've released 7 new health reports to MyHeritage Health. And these include apologenic risk score for obesity and high BMI, hereditary BRCA cancers have been updated to 103 variants, and we've released 5 new carrier status reports. So you can learn more about that on the MyHeritage blog. We'll put a link in the comments for you to see that. And you can also, you'll learn more about the MyHeritage DNA test today. And if you purchase a MyHeritage Health test, that also includes all the DNA features that we offer. In addition, for the whole month of June, we are opening a different collection, a different historical record collection every single day for the month of June. And a lot of these collections are rare and valuable and exclusive to MyHeritage. And this week we have an amazing lineup of collections that are free each day. So I'll just let you know, today, Monday, June 8th, we have the U.S. Social Security applications and claims. Tuesday, tomorrow, we have Chronicling America, Historic American Newspapers. On Wednesday, we have the Ellis Island and Other New York Passenger List collection. These are huge, huge collections. A lot of information there that could help you break down brick walls. On Thursday, we are opening up the 1940 United States Federal Census. On Friday, it'll be Massachusetts newspapers and Florida newspapers. On Saturday, historical books, index of authors and people mentioned. And on Sunday, last but not least for this week, the compilation of published sources. So we'll also put a link in the comments about all the different record collections that are going to be free throughout June. Stay tuned, and we hope that you are able to find some information about your ancestors. And now I'd like to introduce our special guest for today. We have Uri Gonen. He's joining us from Toronto. And Uri is our Senior Vice President of Product Management. Hi, Uri. How are you today?
Good, good. How are you?
Good, thank you. It's so great to have you. And Uri, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I live in Toronto, like Esther had mentioned. We're both actually Canadian, which is funny. And I saw on the list of people joining, a lot of them are from Canada. So welcome everybody from there and from all over the world. I'm originally Israeli, living here in Canada. I work in MyHeritage for 15 years now, pretty much from the beginning. My role is Senior Vice President of Product Management. And product management, for anybody who doesn't know, is basically the job of defining what the products are and gathering all the resources and people to execute them and bring them to market. So some of the products I was involved in, quite a lot of them, especially the one I'm going to talk about today. But involved in other projects as well. I also am a developer, so I do some of the coding sometimes still for fun. And that's pretty much it. Shall we start the presentation? Esther?
Sure. Before we get to that, I just want to let everyone know about our giveaway that we have for today. Or you want to display it for us? Amazing. There's a MyHeritage DNA kit. We'll be giving one away at the end of today's session that Uri is giving. So it's really exciting. And basically to enter, just leave us a comment. Let us know what you've learned from DNA. If you've taken a DNA test, if you've tested with MyHeritage, a question, a comment, in the comment section on the Facebook Live, and you'll be entered. And after the questions, at the end of the talk, we will be giving it away. So stay tuned. And sure, I will bring up your slides. I actually don't see your slides in the waiting room.
Yeah, I'll share the screen.
Perfect. There we go.
All right, so today I'm going to talk about a very nice and helpful feature that we have developed in MyHeritage about 2 years ago, and it's been out since. It's a pretty innovative tool that we call the Theory of Family Relativity. And obviously the relationship to another famous theory is not unintentional. So the tool allows you to understand your DNA matches using family trees and historical records on MyHeritage and the connection between them. So let's move on to the next slide. So the DNA kit that I showed you before, that I hope a lot of you have taken, and if anybody has DNA results on MyHeritage, which you can get either by taking the DNA kit that we sell, or if you have results from other vendors, like 23andMe or Ancestry, that you want to also bring to MyHeritage, it's easy to export those results from those other sites and bring them over to MyHeritage, and it'll give you a lot of those capabilities that we're going to talk about. So DNA Kit generally gives you three things. One is an ethnicity breakdown, which is a very interesting tool that allows you to find out where in the world do you come from. So, the breakdown of your ethnicity, it could be, that much English and that much Italian and so on. And that's a very good tool to have. The second one, which is what we're talking about here, is all the people on MyHeritage that took tests or uploaded tests that you match. Your DNA matches with them. So basically, it'll be people that you have a common ancestor with, either a very close one or a very far away one. So it could be like a, fourth great grandfather and so on. And the fifth one, which is what Esther mentioned, is health reports. So it basically, based on your DNA, we can give you your risk or your traits that have to do with your genes. But what we're talking about today is the relatives that we find for you on MyHeritage. So here is a screen that shows what I get when I took a DNA test on MyHeritage. And usually what will happen is you will get hundreds, if not thousands, of DNA matches. Starting from people you obviously know that you maybe gave DNA tests to as a gift, which you can, or people that are related to you that that took also DNA tests that you found out through here. And so in this my example, I have my daughter, I have my father, obviously I know. But a lot of these people, when you go down to it, and here I have almost 8,000. When I scroll down the list, I see more and more people that the DNA tells you that you're relatives, you're some sort of cousin of some sort, but many times it's hard to find who they are. And that's really one of the challenges, is finding out who these people are. So when you go into a particular DNA match, and this Martha here is one of them that I'm looking at, when you go to the review DNA page, you will get a lot of tools that we provide for you that give you information about who this person is and how you're related. So obviously we give you an estimated relationship based on your genetics. In this case, it's somewhere between a second and fifth cousin. There's also all kinds of scientific data here about how much your DNA match. You see here the 1.2% and 85.6 centimorgans. There's a lot to learn here. We're not going to delve into all that today, but it kind of gives you how close you are. And then there are a lot of tools on this page that give you more information. For example, here at the bottom, the ancestral surnames. So names of ancestors on my tree, assuming that you actually brought in a family tree to MyHeritage, which is very important because these are the things that really will give you the huge value. And on the same side of Martha's family tree, what are her ancestral surnames? So the names of her parents and grandparents and so on. Many times by looking at those, you can find out who is maybe the common ancestor. Remember, if you have a DNA match, then it means that most likely you have a common ancestor. That's basically the person you shared both of you share DNA from. So ancestral surnames is a good tool. Scrolling down the list, you also see ancestral places. So the places where those ancestors of yours and your match have lived, were born, died in, and so on. In this case, I can see that in Lithuania, we have common ancestors. So that will give me a lot of indication of where potentially our common ancestor comes from. I can also look at that person's pedigree tree, so all her ancestors and mine, and try to figure out by comparing the trees where we match. But many times, and another one is a chromosome browser, which really tells me where specifically we share DNA, and we have all kinds of tools that allow you to delve into and find out clues over there. But they are a lot more difficult to use, of course, and need a lot of education about. But many times I have this. So I see that there's a match. I know it's a maybe fifth or fourth cousin, but I really don't have any information about who this person is and how we are related to each other. So this is where theory of family relativity comes into play. So many times using this tool, we can actually tell you exactly how you're related. And when I say tell, it's with a quote because it's a theory. Based on our analysis, we believe that this might be how you're related. And we can show you who your common ancestors are, those you have both inherited your genes from. And we can demonstrate how we have deduced that these are your common ancestors and that's your relationship. So theory of family relativity is the tool or the mechanism that actually finds this out. So it is an algorithm, which is a fancy name for a computational recipe that looks at potential genealogical paths that connect you and your DNA matches. In fact, all the DNA matches that we have on MyHeritage participate in this algorithm. And like a recipe, it needs ingredients, which is what we call the big tree, which is made out of all the DNA matches on MyHeritage, all the family trees that all of you have contributed, community trees that are not necessarily yours, such as Family Search, such as Genie, which is another product that we have, and a lot of other historical records that we collected, and all the matches between them. So historical records such as censuses and all those wonderful record collections that Esther just mentioned, some of them just before. So we take all this data and we basically, using our very cutting edge technologies, we traverse what we call this big tree and try to look for common ancestors to all DNA matches. And the results are all these theories that explain how two people with genetic matches can be related. So let's kind of demonstrate this and visualize it graphically. So imagine this is this big tree. So this is a huge tree that includes all the trees on MyHeritage and all the records on MyHeritage. And we start with a pair of DNA kits or results that we know have a match, a genetic match between them. So let's call them 1 and 2. So we take kit 1 and look for the person in a tree that represents this DNA kit and try to go up that tree to a parent and another parent and another parent and so on. And at some point we might jump to another tree where we know that same person exists using what we call smart matches that connect people who seem to be the same in 2 different trees. And we will do the same thing on the other side, go to that person, go up to their parent, jump to another tree, go up that tree, and so on, until we find a common ancestor, which is here, we marked it as J, who is both an ancestor of 1 and of 2, but in fact, not in either of those trees, but actually in a different tree that they are all connected to. So this is what we call a theory, a path that explains how 1 and 2 are related. And this is how we will show it in MyHeritage. When you go into the DNA review page, we will show you that there is a theory that explains how you are related. And in this case, we have Brent, who took the DNA test, and he's looking for theories that explain how his DNA matches are related to him. And in this case, Debbie, before this tool, he did not know who this person might be. But the theory went up his tree to his father and to his father's mother and to her father and to her mother. Then found a match to that great-great-grandmother in another family tree. Did the same thing on Debbie's tree, went up to her mother, jumped to Family Search family tree, which is a record collection that we have on MyHeritage. Went up 2 generations there, then threw a match to that sister of Elizabeth and found a common ancestor. In this case, they are half siblings, half sisters, because they have a common father but not a common mother. So we found this path, and this is what we will show Brent to say, hey, this is how we think Debbie is related to you. So how can these theories help you? How do you use them when you go to look at matches? So going back to that list of DNA matches that you see on MyHeritage, once you take a DNA test, that we are giving one for free today, but you can always purchase them. And actually, because of Father's Day weekend coming up, we have a sale, and I think they are at $49 US, which is a really good price. So now if you have DNA matches that have theories, they will kind of show up at the top with a banner, and you can click on that to narrow it down to those that have theories. Or at any given point, you can go to the filter section, go to the details drop down and select only the ones that have a theory of family relativity. And once you do that, that list narrows down to ones that we found a theory for you. So here is my list, and I have this lady called Natasha something, that it shows that not only do we know that genetically it's somewhere between second and third cousin once removed, but we also found a theory that could explain why you are fourth cousins. I am fourth cousin once removed to Natasha. So I would click here to review DNA match. And at the top of the page, just below the place where it explains, the genetic match, it'll show me a visualization of how I am related to Natasha. And in this case, it shows the common ancestors, Isaac and Sora, with some Russian names there. And it shows me how I am the descendant of this couple and how she is the descendant of this couple and through which line. I can also go into a button called View Full Theory, which will expand this and show a more detailed explanation of how this happened. And in this case, with the simple theory, it just went up my tree and found this couple there, and went up her tree and found another couple, which, because of what we call a smart match, which is this green icon, between Sora, and also between Isaac and Isaac probably, we believe that these are the same people. So we are both descendant of those ancestors. I can hover over each person here and get more detail, so I can do a lot more research through there and verify whether I think this is a correct match or not. I can click on this icon of the smart match as well and see the explanation of why MyHeritage thinks that these two people are the same. And hopefully this is correct. There are situations where the matches are not correct. This is why we call it a theory, because we don't have an absolute knowledge that what we're saying is true. But based on the data that we have, based on our technology of matching, this seems to be an explanation for how I am related to Natasha. I also wanted to show you that there could be more than one explanation for this theory, what we call a path. So at the top here, we are showing that there is more than one path that explains this theory. If I go and I visualize this again, What we mean is this. Remember this path that we found that connects 1 and 2 through the common ancestor J? Well, many times there's many different paths that explain the same theory. Here is an example here where using different smart matches and record matches between nodes in the tree, using different trees in the big tree, we can basically find another path that explains exactly the same thing, that J is the common ancestor of 1 and 2. So we will show you these two different paths. So remember the one path that we showed before. Another path, when I click on path 2, will show me a path that in this case went through a community tree called Genie, which is a large collaborative tree that we maintain, that showed basically the same kind of relationship, but going through different places in our big tree. The more different paths we have, the more likely this information is correct, because there's different evidences that points to the fact that this is in fact the relationship. So we showed you that there are theories that explain how you are related to your match, and that sometimes there's more than one path or explanation for this theory. Sometimes there could be more than one theory for a DNA match. And in this case here, we go back to Brent and Michelle that we showed you at the beginning. And we're showing that, in fact, we think that they are third cousins according to a theory, but there's actually two more theories that explain different relationships between the two. So if I click here on the review match again, I will see the first theory, which is the shortest theory, which explains the shortest type of relationship that Michelle and Brent have, which in this case is the third cousin. In fact, their great-grandparents were half-brothers in this example. But we actually found three theories that explain different types of relationships. So one of them, the simplest one, is that they're third cousins through Brent's father. The second one is that they're fourth cousins. And the third one is that they're fourth cousin once removed. And let's explain how that happens. So here are the first and second theories. There's actually a third one, of the third cousin and the fourth cousin. So let's kind of see what do we mean by two different theories. So the green highlighted person shows where the theories differ on Brent's line. So the first one on the left goes through Christopher, which is his grandmother's father. And the second one on the right is through Mary, which is his grandmother's mother. And through there, in the same way on Michelle's tree, there's different people. So it's her grandmother's father versus her grandmother's mother. And through there, they're fourth cousins. So maybe one of them is correct and one is not, and maybe both of them are correct. Because of marriages inside a family, this happens many times. Especially when you go up your tree, you'll find that this becomes more and more common in smaller and smaller communities. Another thing that I wanted to highlight is, because we are showing you a path that goes through other people's family trees on MyHeritage, a helpful tool that we have is that you can contact the person who manages this tree. Many times that could lead you to a lot of discoveries. You find people that know information about your ancestors that you don't have in your tree. So this is a great way to get more research information about your family. In this example of the fourth cousin, which is the longer path between Brent and Mary, we have an interesting case where the path is actually built using a match between a record on Genie and a record on Family Search. If you know MyHeritage a bit more, for those of you who know, you probably were exposed to this concept of smart match, which we showed you before, a match between two people in two different trees, and a record match, which is a match between people in your tree and records. This is sometimes we use matches between collections, which is not something that is really shown to you, but in our back end of the algorithm uses also matches between different collections to find more ways to connect two people. So here we have a match between Jenny and Jenny in Family Search and Jeannie. Another thing that can happen is that census records many times get involved in those paths. Here we have the 1860 US federal census, which is one of the collection that is going to be maybe free, I think, in the month of June at some point. And we have a little household that we built through these records. We have a head of household, Samuel, his wife, and their daughter, which create a little tree that we used in order to create a connection between Barbara's tree and some other person who took a DNA match that she matched with. So this is quite neat. And here is that match between a family search record and a US Census record on MyHeritage. And again, you can click to see and verify that this is indeed a correct match. So this has been going on for more than 2 years now. We announced it in previous RootsTech, which is our main genealogical conference. Since then, we did several updates of rerunning the algorithm. It doesn't run every day automatically. It's still something that we are running periodically. We ran it a few weeks ago again. We currently have more than 20 million different theories, 6 million new ones on the last run. 14 million DNA matches have theories, and we already have more than 700,000 people that took DNA tests that can see theories that explains their DNA matches, which is again an increase from the last time we ran it. So how can you enjoy those theories of family relativity? So what you need to do is take a DNA test. Of course, one of them will be free here today, and the rest could be purchased at a really low price in the next week on MyHeritage. Or if you, as I mentioned, have your DNA taken with other vendors that support exporting, and we can import them to MyHeritage, so you don't need to take it again. Meanwhile, you need to build or synchronize or import a family tree into MyHeritage. Especially anything to do with your ancestors, because everything works in DNA through genes that you inherited from your ancestors. Eventually, you will get matches to other family trees and to records on MyHeritage. Those are those green and brown dots that we saw in the presentations. And you can use those discoveries to grow your family tree even further. You will find out about more and more family members that you have, add them to your tree. So using those record matches and smart matches that start to come up and all in your tree and the DNA information, the theory of family relativity will eventually be calculated using your tree and using your DNA matches, and you will get those theories in your inbox. We, of course, send you emails when we find new theories, so you don't need to keep going back there. Whenever we have interesting information to tell you about, you will get emailed. That's it from my side. Now we're opening to questions. Back to Esther.
Thank you, Uri. Before we get to questions, we had some really nice comments that I just wanted to share with you throughout your talk. Jan says, listening from Jacksonville, Florida, through MyHeritage testing on resources, I just learned of my great-grandmother's techniques in keeping all 10 children safe during the Spanish flu. Mm-hmm. Thank you. So, wow, that's really incredible, Jen, and we'd love to hear more about that story. So please comment and let us know more details. Julie says, I am now almost able to identify my father's adoptive family using DNA matches from MyHeritage. Exciting times. Need another family member to test to be sure of the match. So also really exciting comments there. Everyone really enjoyed the talk. Kimberly said, enjoying this lecture. So thank you so much. It was really, really informative. And we'll take a few questions. And then after that, we'll go and draw for the giveaway of the DNA test. So we'll start with a question from Jane. Jane asks, how far back may the common ancestors come from?
Right. So the theory of family relativity works so that we look for fifth cousins and below. So that would mean, so if you're a cousin, first cousin, it means that you have common grandparents. Second cousin means that you have common great-grandparents, and so on. So fifth cousin is the most that we go. Above that, it becomes computationally, double or more. But mostly it means that there could be other connections, and the connection is too small in order for the algorithm to be precise. So fifth cousin is as much as we go.
Okay, Roseanne asks, I have 4 people entered with DNA matches. There are no results from a theory of family relativity. Am I doing something wrong?
No, like I said, only a certain percentage of people we found a theory for. It could be many reasons. It could be that your tree isn't large enough. Of course, if you have the larger the tree that you have and more accurate, the more likely it will be connected to other trees. So I'm not sure how big your tree is. You need to, of course, make sure that you have a family tree on MyHeritage, lots of ancestors, and that you are properly connected between you as a DNA kit holder and your tree. So make sure that when you go to your DNA matches, every match that you see, you will see your pedigree there. So that means that other people will see your pedigree as well, and it means that the theories will see your tree properly. Other than that, it could be that we just don't have enough information about your side of the family on MyHeritage. So that's all I can say, really.
But new users are joining every day, so stay tuned.
True.
Khadija asks, where did you find this info? So first, I just want to remind all of our viewers today that you can rewatch this amazing session by Uri, and it'll stay on our Facebook page. You just go to the MyHeritage Facebook page under videos, and there you can watch this session over and over and glean all you can from it, and also all of our previous Facebook Lives. So, and I thought maybe you could just review where users can look to see if they have theories. Maybe they've missed them, or they missed the email that they received.
So again, we send emails when we find new theories, but otherwise, maybe I can share my screen again, and then I can show you here. Wait a second. Which one is... Here, do you see my screens here? So when I go to DNA, there is DNA matches, or you just go to DNA anyway, you'll see the matches. If you go to filters here, and you select here filters Theory of Family Relativity, has Theory of Family Relativity, it will just filter the list to the ones that you have a theory. And if you see this atom icon, that means that there is a theory. Okay, so that's the ones. And of course, there's emails that we send you as well.
Great. We have a couple of comments. Joyce says, oh, the pressure to get my tree on MyHeritage. I'm letting everyone down that matches me. So that's true. Get your tree on MyHeritage. If you have a tree somewhere else, you can import it as a GEDCOM file, and you can start upload your, as Uri said, if you've taken a DNA test with a different service, you can upload your DNA test just to widen your pool of matches and receive matches from everyone who has tested already with MyHeritage. We'll take another question. Let's see. Rianne says, any tips for adoptees that have zero information on their prior selves?
Any information? again, of course, DNA tests are the way to solve these roadblocks. I know of countless stories that of success stories of people that using DNA tests on MyHeritage and other vendors have found those links to people. So you will find all kinds of cousins of yours usually that you're related to, and somehow try to contact them, because for each DNA match that we find for you, it's a member on MyHeritage, and you can try to contact them. And through them, you can potentially trace how you potentially are related and where is that missing link. So sometimes your, biological parent or child has actually taken a DNA test, and that's amazing. But most likely it'll be through cousins that somehow you can trace up the line and figure out where that biological connection was made and was, adopted. I hope I help. I mean, there's countless of success stories with that.
Yes, even just looking at the MyHeritage blog under the user stories section, you'll see lots of success stories from adoptees, really many amazing discoveries that they've made. So definitely check it out. We have a question from Mary. She says, some of my relativity theories show deleted trees. I don't understand why.
Yes, so as I mentioned, when we run the algorithm, we run it on the data that we had at that point, and it could have been a few weeks ago or maybe a month ago, something like that. And those theories are still there. But it could be that since we have run the algorithm, some of the data of the trees that people had has been deleted. People, if you have a tree and you feel that you want to remove it because of all kinds of reasons, you are free to do that. That's your data. The theory is still there. So the information about how we got to the theory and the path, we still keep, but the data behind it, who is that person and what's the information about this person, is gone. So you will see that there once was a person on an individual on MyHeritage that made us found this path, but it's been deleted, so we can't really show you it anymore. So that sometimes happens.
That's similar to Margie's question. She asks, if I add a tree to MyHeritage, how long will I have to wait until I get some theories? Weeks, months?
Right. So it's based on a few things. One is how often we run the process that calculates theories, and it happens, I can't guarantee, but it could happen every month or a bit more. But it also based on the data of that algorithm, which is all the trees and all the genealogical matches that we find. So I would say that probably something like a month or two until you will get a theory, something like that. If you upload or took a DNA test today and build a tree today, you can expect a month or two for results to come in. I wish I could say that it happens instantaneously, but it's not. It's a big process to run.
And I see we have a couple questions about validating the theories. Do you have any tips for our viewers about the best way to do that?
Yes. So the two main reasons why a theory might not be correct is, one, that the data that it uses, the information about the people, is incorrect. We know that a lot of trees, family trees, are full of mistakes. People didn't know the information. People maybe just blindly copied it from somewhere else where there was a mistake, and this just propagates on and on. And that's not right. This person was not the child of that person. This person wasn't called so-and-so. It was actually, his cousin that was called that. There is a lot of uncertainty about the past. That's one. The second is sometimes the matches between two individuals on MyHeritage, between a tree and a record, or between two trees, is not correct. Our algorithm thinks that this is the same person, but it's clear that it can't be. They couldn't have lived in that place. They couldn't have been called that because, certain things that our algorithm can't deduce. So, but mostly it's because of bad data. Mostly it's because of trees that are incorrect. So once you have all the path, like we showed you, every person in the path, you can delve into that record or into that information in that person's tree and look for sources. Try to contact this person if you think that there is potentially a problem here. So that's kind of more of a classic genealogical research and trying to find out where there are inconsistencies in the data. I know, for example, in my tree, there are some things like that. So, and I'm sure a lot of people's trees. I just found a mistake where a birth date was wrong by 10 years, was just not copied correctly from a gravestone.
Wow.
And by looking at it, see, it can't be, she can't have had, this means that she would have had a child at the age of 12, and it's obviously not true. So I went and did some digging and fixed the date. So, and that happens all the time.
Wow.
And this could cause a match to a person, which is because of an incorrect date and so on.
Doesn't matter how long you've been doing genealogy
research.
Of course.
Yeah.
Always finds like that. Amazing. A couple amazing comments that we received here. I just want to read out. Becca says, found DNA matches in Germany and found 3 generations because I connected with my cousin. Thanks, MyHeritage. And Lois said, my closest match came from MyHeritage and my results came quick. Thank you, MyHeritage. So these really make us so happy to read, and please let us know if you've made a discovery through MyHeritage. We'd love to hear. You know, this is what makes it so exciting to be on this end. So please do let us know. And now we'd like to choose a winner for the DNA kit, the MyHeritage DNA kit that we'll be sending to you. We received tons and tons of comments, so thank you to all of our viewers from all over the world. And our winner for today is David Bradley. And David said, I would love to test my great uncle, who is my maternal nan's brother, who is sadly deceased. Hopefully DNA testing her brother will give me some good matches that my nan would have had. So that's really, really fantastic. And we hope that the DNA test helps you and that you get some good breakthroughs on your grandmother's side. So we'll be in touch with you. And now I just want to say thank you so much, Uri, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And I think I learned so much every time that I hear you speak. So I'm sure that our viewers did as well. And for everyone out there, we hope that you enjoy our Facebook Live series. And please visit our video section on our Facebook page to see all the past ones. And we hope to see you at our next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.